Good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Today I'm going to do something special for the mothers. This video is a Mother's Day shout out. Now, what's going to be included in this video is what Mother's Day really is, who established Mother's Day, and the history of Mother's Day, because it is a very special day. I know for me, because my mother is still living, and I want everybody to understand that you have one mother only. This is not, you have two mothers in a politically correct culture. No, you have one mother. But first, before I get into what it is to be a mother, although I am not a mother, but that being said, I still have aunts and my mother living who are mothers, and they've given me all sorts of fantastic information, and that's why I am a productive citizen here in society, thanks to their teachings. Because I always say, a society can rise no higher than the morality of its women. And if you don't believe me, you look at the African American community, and you look at some of the Puerto Rican and Dominican communities. There's your answer right there. So, that being said, when one talks about Mother's Day is a holiday honoring motherhood that is observed in different forms throughout the world. The American incarceration of Mother's Day was created by Anna Jarvis in 1908 and became an official United States holiday in 1914. Jarvis would later denounce the holiday's commercialization and spent the latter part of her life trying to remove it from the calendar. While dates and celebrations vary, Mother's Day most commonly falls on the second Sunday in May and traditionally involves presenting mothers with flowers, cards, and other gifts. Now, moving on, there is a history associated with Mother's Day. Celebrations of mothers and motherhood can be traced back to the ancient Greeks and Romans, who held festivals in honor of the mother goddess Rhea and Cybele. But the clearest modern precedent for Mother's Day is the early Christian festival known as Mothering Sunday. Once a major tradition in the United Kingdom and parts of Europe, the celebration fell on the fourth Sunday in Lent and was originally seen as a time when the faithful would return to their mother church, the main church in the vicinity of their home, for a special service. Now, over time, Mothering Sunday tradition shifted into a more secular holiday, and children would present their mothers with flowers and other tokens of appreciation. The custom eventually faded as popularity before merging with the American Mother's Day in the 1930s and 1940s. Now, did you know this? More phone calls are made on Mother's Day than any other day of the year. The holiday chats with mom often cause phone traffic to spike as much as 37%. Now, when we talk about Anne Reeves Jarvis and Julia Ward Howe, the origins of Mother's Day as celebrated in the United States date back to the 19th century, in the years before the Civil War. And Reeves Jarvis of West Virginia helped start Mother's Day work clubs to teach local women how to properly care for their children. These clubs later became a unifying force in a region of the country still divided over the Civil War. Now, in 1868, Jarvis organized Mother's Friendship Day, at which mothers gathered with former Union and Confederate soldiers to promote reconciliation. Another precursor to Mother's Day came from the abolitionists and suffragists, or suffragette Julia Ward Howe. In 1870, Howe wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation, a call to action that asked mothers to unite in promoting world peace. In 1873, Howe campaigned for a Mother's Peace Day to be celebrated every June 2nd. Other early Mother's Day pioneers include Juliet Calhoun Blakely, a temperance activist who inspired a local Mother's Day in Albion, Michigan in the 1870s. The duo of Mary Towles Sasson and Frank Herring, meanwhile, both worked to organize a Mother's Day in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries. Some have called Herring the father of Mother's Day. Now, the official Mother's Day holiday arose in the 1900s as a result of the efforts of Anna Jarvis, daughter of Anne Reeves Jarvis. Following her mother's 1905 death, Anna Jarvis conceived of Mother's Day as a way of honoring the sacrifices mothers made for their children. After gaining financial backing from a Philadelphia department store owner named John Wanamaker, in May of 1908, she organized the first official Mother's Day celebration at a Methodist church in Grafton, West Virginia. The same day also saw thousands of people attend a Mother's Day event at one of Wanamaker's retail stores in Philadelphia. Now, following success of her Mother's Day, that was her first Mother's Day, Jarvis, who remained unmarried and childless her whole life, resolved to see her holiday added to the national calendar, arguing that American holidays were biased toward male achievements. She started a massive letter-writing campaign to newspapers and prominent politicians urging the adoption of a special day honoring motherhood. By 1912, many states, towns, and churches had adopted Mother's Day as an annual holiday, and Jarvis had established the Mother's Day International Association to help promote her cause. Her persistence paid off in 1914 when President Woodrow Wilson signed a measure officially establishing the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. Now, Anna Jarvis had originally conceived of Mother's Day as a day of personal celebration between mothers and families. Her version of the day involved wearing a white carnation as a badge and visiting one's mother or attending church services. But once Mother's Day became a national holiday, it was not long before florists, card companies, and other merchants capitalized on its popularity. While Jarvis had initially worked with the floral industry to help raise Mother's Day profile, by 1920 she became disgusted. That's right, she became disgusted with the holiday and how it had been commercialized. She outwardly denounced the transformation and she urged people, and she argued with politicians and townspeople, but she basically urged people to stop buying Mother's Day flowers, cards, and candies. Jarvis eventually restored to an open campaign against Mother's Day profiteers, speaking out against the confectioners, florists, and even charities. She also launched countless lawsuits against groups that used the name Mother's Day, eventually spending most of her personal wealth in legal fees. By the time of her death in 1948, Jarvis had disowned the holiday altogether and even actively lobbied the government to see it removed from the American calendar. Now, when it comes to around the world, Mother's Day is celebrated. While many versions, however, of Mother's Day are celebrated worldwide, traditions vary depending on the country. In Thailand, for example, Mother's Day is always celebrated in August on the birthday of the current queen, Sarakit. Another alternative observance of Mother's Day can be found in Ethiopia, where families gather together to sing songs and eat a large feast as part of Antrops. That's a multi-day celebration honoring motherhood. In the United States, Mother's Day continues to be celebrated by presenting mothers and other women with gifts flowers, and it has become one of the most or the biggest holiday for consumer spending. Families also celebrate by giving Mother's Day off from activities like cooking and other household chores. Now, at times, Mother's Day has been a date for launching political or feminist causes. In 1968, Coretta Scott King, wife of the late Martin Luther King, used Mother's Day to host a march in support of underprivileged women and children. In the 1970s, women's groups also, that's right, women's groups also used the holiday as a time to highlight the need for equal rights and access to child care. Now, that being said, when it comes to Mother's Day started off as being part of the churches. Most people don't know that because here in America, we're caught up with the commercialization. Now, Jarvis, who had no children, spent her time trying to get Mother's Day pulled off the calendar because she saw Mother's Day as a holiday for commercialization. That is true today because more money is spent on Mother's Day. You look at the marketing campaigns. But that being said, I do want to send a shout out to mothers. And what I mean by a mother who is actually nurturing and teaching her children and the grandmothers as well, because they're mothers too, because you have some of these grandmothers who are actually taking the role of mother because their daughters and sons were irresponsible with their children. So the grandmothers, instead of putting them in the foster care, the system, because the system would destroy these children indefinitely, and they're also a babysitter for their sons and daughters to go to work. But that being said, the grandmother is a mother herself, and the mother, she's the one who is supposed to be out front teaching her children, nourishing her children. In fact, it's the mother who carries that child in her stomach for 9 months to make sure that it gets nourished. Now, here's the point of no return. Just because a woman carries that child in her stomach for 9 months, it doesn't make her a mother. She may have the title, but the responsibility must go along with that title. And you have numerous individuals, and if you don't believe me, again, you look at the high out-of-wedlock pregnancy rate in the African American communities and the Puerto Rican and Dominican communities, because you have a number of women who are basically having children irresponsibly from men who are also irresponsible for the check. Getting a check for a child does not make you a mother. And let me put something else out there, because there's a battle when Father's Day comes. Men, just because you have custody of your children, this is not your day. You are not the mother and the father. You are a father. You don't know the mother's roles. And I'm going to put out the same message for Father's Day, because you have a number of women, just because they have the children and they've raised them by themselves, you're supposed to raise that child even if the other person isn't there. That is your job. So that's why you have to look at who you are appropriating with. But my shout out goes to the mothers who are actually doing the work, because it is a thankless job to be a mother, particularly in America. And if you see a person who's a mother, particularly an elderly woman who is taking care of kids, she's been a great grandmother, give her a hug and tell her Happy Mother's Day. You see any decent mother, because it's the mothers who nurture and teach the children how to be productive citizens in society. That mother's love is very important. Mothers teach that affection. They teach the guidelines on how to treat a man and a woman. I'm talking about the real mothers, not these feminist mothers, because if you heard me speak a few minutes ago, you have feminists who try to hijack Mother's Day for the equality movement. No, that's not what a mother is. A mother's role is to nurture and teach the children. It's not about equality. Men and women are equal but different. Our roles are different. I don't care what the feminists have come up with. The feminists are very delusional. And any man out there who's co-signing with that feminist nonsense that we're the same, you need to go see a doctor, because we're not the same. We're different. We have different roles. Each role that we have, the mother's role, and of course the fathers, I'll be talking about them in June. You need both roles, and both roles must be stable mentally and psychologically as well as physically, because the name does not guarantee that you are that parent. And what I'm trying to say to you, just because you have a child or you raise a child, if you raise a child and you're doing the work of the nurturing and the teaching, and you're feeding that child and you're giving that child the basic needs, that's a mother. But if you're just having a child for yourself, to benefit, to get your hair done, buy all the Versace clothes, well, you're just using that child for yourself. That's a narcissistic behavior. That does not make you a mother. And again, fathers, just because you have custody of your children, you are not the mother and the father. So please, your day is coming. This is for the mothers out there who are doing the job. That's who I'm giving a shout out for. And if you see a mother out there, because you have some mothers working today, tell them Happy Mother's Day. Because these are the people, the real mothers, who are doing the work. And it's a thankless job to be a mother. Mothers go through a lot of hassle. But the strong mothers, the real mothers, when we talk about strength, no matter what they go through, they maintain their integrity and they endure. And that's what being a mother is. And I want to thank everybody for listening to this video. I didn't get everything, but I gave you an overview because a number of us hear Mother's Day every year. We talk about the commercialization of it. I've already mentioned that. You can go right back through the video, giving you the history of who started Mother's Day. In fact, the person who actually had a lot of involvement with Mother's Day wasn't even married, didn't have any children. In fact, Mother's Day, again, was for the church. Wasn't what it is today. A lot of us don't know that because we don't read. And after watching this video, you're going to have a different mindset on the holiday, on why it is important. Mother's Day wasn't always the commercialized holiday that we see it as today. But a number of us have turned the Mother's Day holiday from more or less a Christian holiday to a secular holiday. And profiteers such as your retail stores and your florists have taken advantage of this day for their own benefits. Folks, you have one mother. You don't have two mommies. I'm not politically correct about homosexuality. You have one mother. And that one mother is where you came from. Now, of course, even that being said, if a person, and let me go back, if a person biologically is not taking care of that child, but you have a non-biological person who's doing the work of a mother, I would also consider them a mother as well. You have some stepmothers who are mothers because the biological mother isn't doing the job. But regardless, mothers provide the nurturing, the love, the affection, the care, the welfare, the feeding, and of course, I'm telling you, the teaching to their children so they could be model citizens in society. A mother is not a man. A mother is not a mother because she has the child in her possession because she's receiving some type of government benefit. But not everybody who's on Section 8 or welfare is not in a predicament of using their children to benefit themselves. I'm not saying that because you do have some good mothers out there who are on welfare, Section 8, they're receiving child support, they're doing everything that they're asked to do while on the system. Some of them had to utilize the system to help them. But the ones that I'm talking about are individuals who are having children irresponsibly just to be on the system, and they're not taking care of their children. And if you look at what's going on, again, you point out to the African American community and some of these Hispanic communities, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Mexican communities, this is where you see the high rate of out of wedlock pregnancies, violence, substance abuse, homosexuality, incest. You see a number of mental and psychological issues that aren't accounted for. And when that happens, the community is going to fall. So, I want everybody to understand a mother is a nurturer, and her role is important to the rearing of children because a mother's love is going to be extended by her children and how they perform in the real world. Now, of course, you can be a mother and do everything correctly, and your children still come out poorly, and that's because of other influences. But when a mother is doing her job and doing it properly, there's no doubt that her love is not only enlightenment and spiritual. Her love is affectionate and her love is eternal. And that being said, I want to send a shout out to all of the mothers who are doing the job. Thank you very much because your help is appreciated by me. I'm just giving you my point of view because you deserve credit for putting out good children, and I can see the good children and how respectful they are. But for the ones who aren't, you're not mothers. I'm directing this video to the mothers who are doing the work. And again, to all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. And thank you very much. And I appreciate you. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this afternoon, Sunday, Mother's Day, May 14th, 2017. You can tune into the 411 Talk Zone radio show every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Had a good show yesterday where I talked about schizophrenia. Next week, I'm going to talk about narcissism. And if you want to get in on that show, hit number 1 on the queue because the guest calling number is 215-383-5785. And if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Because on this channel, I don't engage in emotional, controversial issues nor debates. However, if an issue sounds controversial, that's because I'm breaking it down and your feelings are getting involved with the issue I'm talking about because it's you I'm talking about. So I have a old saying for everybody. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And if you don't like the shoe, change it. Therefore, moving on, this is why I don't engage in drama or unnecessary bickering. Why? It's counterproductive. This channel is for educational purposes only. And what I do, I give my audience the tools to help them become more successful in life. And the tools I give you are based on research and my own experiences, but they're also positive and spiritual. Because the real world is tough. And if you don't have the tools, you can't build that infrastructure. And without that infrastructure, you're not going to survive. Because the real world presents numerous challenges. So I'm trying to prepare everybody while you're here in the real world, trying to change your thinking, because if you're doing something over and over and over again, trying to get a different result, and it's not working, you need to change what you're doing. And first thing you need to do is come to the 411 Talk Zone radio show. Because right here, knowledge is power. And if you have a business, a topic, or a new YouTube channel that you would like for me to discuss on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, you may email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, please leave your comment in the comment section under the video. But make sure that your comments are pithy, no bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering if you wish to opine. Now that's it for this video. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other, and have a wonderful and blessed day. And to all the mothers out there, you have a wonderful and glorious Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day.